Okay, so when it comes to finding a job, there aren't many options that you can pursue. I feel like the creative industry is generally very small. It's overly competitive. There are a couple of companies, there are a couple of production studios in each country that are taking the majority of the jobs, and they're sucking out the majority of the clients from the rest of the companies. And so this makes it really difficult for creatives to find the production studio they like and perhaps get into. And so this is something that I want to talk about. Something that we have to actually discuss because specifically for me, I'm graduating this semester. I actually technically graduated. I finished all my exams and all
Are
my
you done?
tests, and so yeah, actually now it's the time, and it's time. I guess it's time to find a job. It's time to get into the creative industry, dude. So so it's really difficult, and I feel like things have changed with social media, right? A lot of people are not necessarily trying to find jobs nowadays, but rather start their own company, start a YouTube channel, and start. So there are so many options to pursue, and at the same time, it's like what are you supposed to do, right? The positions in these companies are limited, and getting a proper position in a good production studio is really hard actually. But at the same time, should you pursue that, or should you actually try and go and try to do your own thing, start your own company, like what we're doing now, like we're starting a podcast, and we're basically putting things online and creating content for other people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess it's a bit confusing, and it's a bit difficult, especially for creatives and people who are graduating this year, and recent graduates, to actually know what they should be doing, right? And to be honest, I'm really interested in your story, Kai, because your story is very relevant to me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we met. I met you in your last year, and you were basically finishing up, and basically graduated, and then you left Turkey, and then you went to Taiwan, went
Mm-hmm.
back home, and yeah, and then I heard that you joined Beto, right, which is a production studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm actually interested in the full story of how did you transition, what did you do when you moved from school, like the whole story. So maybe if you can give me an insight on that, that would be really nice, actually.
Okay. So
So you graduated, right?
yeah,
You
I
graduated and you
graduated.
went home. So what did you do then? Like, what's the next step? What was the next
I
step
was
for you?
actually gonna stay in Turkey to work, but then in Taiwan we
Mm-hmm.
have to do our military service. So I thought that instead
Yeah.
of just like owing them this service, I might as well just go back, serve my time. And I just thought that
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
I can just look for a production company to work with.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm waiting for
Yeah.
my serving time. So I wasn't back to Taiwan yet because my wife, she's from Vietnam. So
Okay.
I went to Vietnam for like 3 months. And I remember it was like November, at the end of November. And I just typed like literally like, I searched for the best production company in Taiwan, like the best. And then I was like, I'm not going to lose
Okay.
anything. So I just cold emailed them. I literally just
Okay.
wrote an email. I've seen their works somewhere before, but I wasn't very familiar with all of their stuff. So I just like emailed them, and then I thought it's just a good experience. I might just work there for a couple of months and then be done with it. So I emailed them.
Yeah.
Literally the next day, they just emailed me back and then say they wanted to meet me. So in the email, I was pretty polite. Like I just said that I'll be back to Taiwan, and I'm very interested in like shooting films and stuff, and here are my works. And if you want to work with, I actually told them, if you'd like to collaborate, I can join some of your project.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to join a company. So,
Get
but
a
then,
full-time job.
yeah, I wasn't planning on for
Right.
full time. I just thought that okay, we can work on some project together. But then after I met them, they wanted me to work for them immediately.
Okay.
Like the next day.
Okay.
I was very lucky
Yeah.
because the projects that I showed them were my student projects. Something like, but I made them look really like an actual commercial. And so for those who are
I
not
remember,
graduated,
you worked.
yeah, go on.
Yeah, you worked really hard on your portfolio. I remember that you showed me some of your projects in your fourth year, and your projects were really, really high quality compared to other students, man. So yeah, kudos on that for you, man.
Thanks, man. Like
Yeah.
but that was a very good point though. Like the mindset that we had when we were doing student project is people cannot tell that this is a student project. That was our standard.
Mm-hmm.
If I myself feel like this is, and this is the kind of like an awkward thing. It's like you kind of have to make yourself very objective, and really criticize your own work to see which part of this looked like a student project. And most of the time it's the production value. So you have to put attention to details such as lighting, color grading. These are the things that really like build up your
make your project stand out. Yeah, definitely, dude. I 100% agree.
Color grading and like even costumes, makeup. These are the things that usually when you're first starting out, you don't care about it, right? But if you really pay attention to these small details, it will bring your project to a whole nother level. So in most of the project that I shot when I was a student, we pay attention to these kind of things. That's why it kind of looked like it's, you know, from an actual brand. It really depends, but that's what they saw from my works, and I didn't actually tell them these were student projects. They actually just thought it was actually from a brand, because I didn't mention.
Oh, okay.
I didn't, like, if they didn't ask, I'm not gonna tell them. So immediately they hired me, and I think this is something that like all of the graduates need to really pay attention to, is that when you're first starting out, a lot of you don't know what you really want. Even if you're doing photography, even if you're doing filmmaking, there's still a lot of sectors in filmmaking, right? I always thought that I was going to shoot like feature films or short films, you know? And but then it turned out that I really enjoy shooting commercials. So I think it's good that I get to work in one of the best company in Taiwan, so I can see everything, like what's the best it could be in the industry. I already oversee it, so I know that if I go to other companies, it's just gonna get worse. That's kind of like the downside.
I've looked at some of the works of your company, and it's really good, man. Like it's high quality work. As someone like from someone who was not inside the company, like I've seen their website, and I looked at the portfolio and the work, and it's really high quality. It's not the kind of it's not like any company. Like there's professionalism to what they're doing. The color grading, the production quality, it's high quality work. It's good work, actually.
Yes. Yeah. So like I was gonna say that if you're not sure what you wanted to do in the future, like, okay, that's the sector, right? Filmmaking, but what exactly is the thing you want to do? Once you figured it out, you gotta not make the mistake of a lot of people are doing. It's like they get stuck in this company. Let's say, okay, you're interested in design. Okay, I'll just use filmmaking as an example. Okay, some people, they just want to shoot short corporate. Let's say they want to shoot short films. Okay, but they enter a company that shoot corporate commercials. And then they just ended up having a bunch of corporate videos in their portfolio and have nothing. Like they don't have any portfolio from the things they want to do. So that's actually very dangerous. I'm totally okay with that. I want to shoot commercials, so all of my portfolio are like commercial stuff. So really prepare your portfolio in a way that you want to continue to do the same thing in the future. Don't prepare anything that you don't want to do. Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to show it. That's something really important. So if you're still a student right now, you still have time. Prepare something that you actually want to do instead of just doing good looking stuff or things that look professional. That's really important.
I think that's a very good advice, and that's something I've also been working on, right? But I guess it's also very hard to determine what you want to do, right? Like you said, like if you want to join filmmaking, what do you actually want to do? Do you want to become a cinematographer, a director, or
even the position matters.
A producer, right? Or do you want to be like the sound guy who records and mixes sound? And there are many positions, and the thing that's also really challenging is trying to so you're trying to get into a company that has already an established employees who each one of them has they have their own positions figured out, right? Like, and you're just this new guy who's entering this company, who has recently graduated with no experience, right? Or very little experience at least, trying to basically find a position in this company that is good for you, and at the same time doesn't clash with the positions that already exist there, right? And I guess that's the difficulty. I've heard like a lot of people who joined companies, and they took, for instance, like started an entry level job of a production assistant, or a post production assistant, and then they remain they remain on the same position for like 6 or 7 years, and you don't want that to happen. You want to climb the ladder, and you want to improve and be promoted. And so that's also something that like people should really consider, right? And yeah, so how was it also like for your case? Like, what did you do to do that? Like, how was it? How are you dealing with that? Like,
the position
is kind of
in the company is kind of like the same all along. Like, a few people will get promoted from, let's say, first of all, that company is kind of more towards motion graphics, so they do a lot of animation, but live action was part of the whole thing as well. And for artists, usually designers, they get promoted to art directors, or you get promoted to director for certain projects. But I think working in a company for 7 years, and if you're just doing the same thing all the time, is actually quite dangerous, because some of our colleagues, no, I'm not saying that is bad, but for certain people, it will make you feel very depressed.
It depends on what you want, right?
Yes, it depends on what you want.
It depends on what you want.
But I noticed that a lot of people actually don't mind doing the same thing all over again. But so you really have to look at yourself and see if you're someone who gets bored of things very easily. For example, I hate it when it's, I'm not making it sound like I'm so like competitive or something, but I hate it when it's too easy. And one, like after one project, I didn't learn anything. I feel like I wasted my time. So I always am looking for things that is kind of not in my comfort zone. So I know that after this project, not only I got something new in my portfolio, but I also learned something very new. So in order to stay relevant, you kind of always need to look for like the newest trend and what is going on in the industry, and you be the first one to learn about that thing. So sometimes and you shouldn't be too like negative about social media.
Rigid.
So like TikTok maybe have some like fun stuff going on, and people say, oh, these are just like young people, they don't know what filmmaking is, so they make TikTok. But you gotta know, why is it popular in the first place? So you learn what's about, or like what's fun about this, and then you can maybe apply this concept to your films. So a lot of people, they're so focusing on the technical side of things, they really don't look at why is this thing successful. Sometimes a film is successful not because of the technical side of things, but because of how it evokes people's emotion. So you look at that, you try to copy that, you apply that to your thing, and you'll be the first one to do it in the industry. So I always try to look for new things to apply, and like other people haven't noticed yet. I think that's a very important thing. You got to always keep an eye on what's going on.
Update your skills.
Yes. You have to update your skill and the news, like what's going on in the industry. You cannot just so focus on what you're doing and forget about the surroundings.
Definitely, dude. 100%. Yeah. I think, that's a really important thing. So I feel like now, for instance, I feel like Premiere used to be, a lot of people used to color grade using Premiere, right? And when DaVinci came out, like when DaVinci became popular, a lot of people a lot of professionals have switched to DaVinci, and there have been a lot of people who are still left out and still color grade using Premiere, right?
Yeah.
So for instance, in this case, you are like, it's way better to learn DaVinci color grading using DaVinci than Premiere, because it gives you more abilities, it gives you more flexibility, and will make your work look like it will give a higher quality to your work, right? And things like that. When new programs come out, when new editing softwares come out, it's a very good idea to play around with them and try them, and try see how you can adapt them into your workflow, for instance.
One of the thing that with DaVinci is, I think, I'm just speculating, but for their programs, DaVinci Resolve, when I was in university, it wasn't that popular. But and you look at their product for their cameras, you can tell that the whole company, they're trying to approach towards the indie filmmakers, like the newer generation of filmmakers. That's why their cameras become cheaper. And I think for DaVinci Resolve, they're really trying to make the program easier for people like us to use. So that's why when I get into DaVinci, I didn't actually spend too much time getting used to it. It's quite easy. Like, so I just transitioned from Premiere to DaVinci without any problem. And then I think I was telling you earlier before the podcast started, I was the only one who used DaVinci Resolve in my company. So anything that they needed that are related to DaVinci, I was the only person that they can look for. And that was the advantage that I had, because nobody knew how to use DaVinci. That's one example.
Yeah, I've noticed that in my during my internship as well. Nobody knew how to use DaVinci as well. Most of the people knew Premiere, and even within Premiere, a lot of them knew very specific things. So they knew the things that would allow them that would fit their workflow, right? And anything outside that, they were quite familiar with it. Obviously, it depends from a person to person, but that was the case. Actually, I have a question. Like, do you think that experience in the industry, do you think it's overrated, or is it really valuable? Because a lot of companies, when they look for an employee and they look for like they want to hire someone, it's always, you find this kind of on their banner, like, we're looking for this person with that amount of experience. And I don't know, bro. I feel like experience is not that valuable, because all you need is someone who's hardworking, and who's enthusiastic and who's passionate, right? And who knows what, like, of course he needs to have a certain level of knowledge, right? About like what the job requires. But then again, like, experience is, okay, it's important. It gives you some advantage, but it's not everything, right? It's not what, it's not the main aspect that people like, that people should actually look for, right? And sometimes it's kind of frustrating, because they're asking for an entry level job, and they're asking for somebody with 5 years of experience or something. You know. And so, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about experience in general?
So, like, first of all, I think from their perspective, they're kind of like a client, right? Because they're trying to hire you. So, the years of experience is just kind of like a thing to make them feel safe about you, because there's a lot of risk hiring someone who doesn't have any experience but talented. So how are you going to prove to them that you have the skills to accomplish their goal? So always look at your ability to solve their problems, because for them, the only way for them to know that you're a professional is to look at your years of experience, because some of them might not be able to identify your skill, because some people, they work in companies that are not production companies. Sometimes you work in an agency, you work for a tech company, but you're the videographer in the tech company. You know, it's not always in a production company. So if you look at the criteria that they're looking for when hiring you, those are the things that they care about. So you gotta convince them. So one of the things why my company hired me at the first place is, all of the things that I sent them, I knew were the things that they're looking for. I didn't send them all of my works. I sent them the videos about fashion, videos about like video commercials that they would like. So you really prepare your, and this is a very important tip though. Sometimes you can just ignore the years of experience. Like, let's say they're asking for someone with 5 years of experience, but if you're so sure that you would do a good job in this company, just send them an email and tell them, just straight up tell them that I don't have I only have 2 years, let's say I only have 1 year, but I am 100% sure I can do something way beyond your expectation. And for me, as if I'm hiring, I say, okay, I want to check out what you can do, right? So maybe they want to meet you, who knows? But one thing that I learned is, like, that company wasn't like the company that I entered, they weren't hiring for anyone then, but I just sent them an email and telling them that I can do a lot of things like this, and I just sent them my works, and they got interested in it. So you really don't even my brother, my little brother, you know him, Abdullah. He's applying for a computer engineering company now. He's switching his job, and he literally just applied to companies that are looking for people who has like, I don't know, 8 years of experience, 10 years of experience, but he think he can do better. So even though he only have like a couple of years of experience, he still go apply, and I think they're gonna interview him very soon. So like, don't be afraid of the years of experience. And one thing that I really actually hate is that artist who relies on experience, because every time you create something new, it shouldn't be fully based on what you did before. Otherwise, it's not original. The only way for it to be original is that you don't have any experience on that. It's a new thing. You just learn about this concept and you created this concept. So you shouldn't have too much of the past in this thing. Otherwise, it's not new. You understand what I'm trying to say? So like, I've met a couple of senior artists that they're just so relying on their experience that every time we do something, we feel like we're doing the same thing because they're trying to do the thing based on their past, right? But the most important thing in this industry is to keep on learning. And I believe that's the same that goes the same to every industry, but especially in the creative industry, you gotta really always stay focused and learn things. And that's the only way to survive. So like, leaning too much on your experience is just gonna make you slow down, and eventually you're gonna see the young generation take over you very quickly because they're so eager to learn. You know, they learn very fast, way faster than you. So I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm getting older, because there will be a time when you kind of learn a bit slower.
That's a very good question, and I always thought about this guy. I thought like, okay, like let's say I'm using Premiere now, right? I start using it, and I've been using it for 4 years, and I'm gonna continue to use it, right? Let's say you have 10 years or 15 years in a certain software, right? Premiere, DaVinci, and then new softwares come out, right? And all of a sudden now everybody's switching, and you have to adapt to these softwares. But again, you're old, you're getting old, and there's not a lot of time to switch softwares, right? And that's what the job demands. But again, that's the way things work, right? Like, you try to adapt as much as you can, but you can't necessarily like beat yourself over this. Another thing that also is really important is, along with the experience, is connections, right? Finding connections. And as someone who's who's trying to get an entry-level job, you don't necessarily know a lot of people in the industry who can lead you to who can lead you to companies, who can lead you to jobs and gigs. And so I guess it's finding connections at the beginning is really hard, but I guess once you get in and you start to know people, and these people lead you to others, then things get a lot easier for you. I remember when I was applying before my first internship, right, that I did, I didn't know anyone, and so I was applying, and nobody was responding. But I feel like now, once I got in, I start to meet people inside, and they start to lead me to other people, and now I know I know a couple of people in the industry, right? Like, still, which is a very good thing, actually. I feel like it's a very good thing for my future career as well. There's that as well.
Connection is definitely something that you worry about when you graduate. But I did hear from someone that connection doesn't really matter, because it really depends on like what they think about you. So there's a way to reach out to people without needing the connection. I mean, if you work long enough, you're gonna have a connection eventually. You know, it's not something that you should force it, I feel like. But if you're really looking for jobs and you don't have any connection, you gotta just cold email everyone. You just send them email, and just like I did at the beginning. So really be genuine, and just like try to reach out to people and just talk to them. Eventually, if you're a nice person, you're talented enough, I'm sure they're gonna introduce to other people. Like, I met a lot of people because of that. You know, you just find out. One thing that the guy from the future, Chris Do, he suggested is that you look for the people that you want to work with, and see what kind of place would they hang out at. So if these kind of people, they always go to certain events, then you go to those events and then you meet them. but don't like immediately start telling them that you make videos and you want to shoot videos for them. But you build up the connection, and then maybe like months later, years later, they're gonna remember you, and then they're gonna call you up. I'm honestly, I'm not really experienced in connection, because my connection just came from the work. So I didn't really look for people to meet. But I mean, eventually you're gonna know people. So we'll see about that.
Yeah.